Hello, hello. This is Chris Park from Arking Games. I'm going to make this video as quick as possible. This is for version 0.450 of AI War 2, and the big new thing in this one is the sound effects, which we finally have. We have a lot more sound effects that are completed than have been actually wired up thus far. A lot of the shots don't have their individual sound effects yet, so there's less variance in the battles than there will be later. And we also don't have the voice acting in yet, although some of it, maybe 20% of it, is recorded already. So that stuff's going to be coming up along with more individualized shot graphics. But I wanted to go ahead and show you what's here. So one of the things that's nice is actually sound effects for clicking various buttons. And I love the fade in and out effect that you get with switching back and forth now. Just little polished stuff we've been doing. Obviously, there are other things that still need to be done, like the fact that these menus overlap, but one thing at a time. So unpausing, get a nice little sound effect there. We can actually give orders to the ships, and they have different sound effects, and you can hear. And you can start hearing some fighting on that other planet. Those bigger explosions are full squads being lost. Usually yours, but enemy ones of significant size enough are also lost. So there's smaller ones for individual ships that get lost. It was just a constant racket when all the ships were doing it. This is like a giant battle going on the other planet there. And I'm just pausing and talking here so you can actually hear what's going on at the moment because it's pretty quiet. But it's nice because it's not overwhelming, but you can still tell something's going on. In AI War Classic, we'd have people going, we've got the sound of ships exploding, like, what's going on? There's not ships on my planet exploding. And it was just the same sound effect as on their planet itself, so that was annoying. Alright, so let's go over to the other planet and actually see what's going on. Oh, they won. Alright, well, never mind then. Let us quit out, and we will load that again, and actually more directly go in. Whoops, sorry, wrong button. Okay, so we'll unpause that. And so here are some of the new shot graphics. There's a bunch of missiles that are being fired. This is about a 5,000 ship battle. The green shots that are going are ones that don't have the proper graphics yet. I've marked them that way so that I'll know what they're doing. You'll notice as I zoom out more, the sound is attenuated. When I get in closer, if you're wearing headphones or depending on how nice your stereo standard is, you can tell that the sound is directional. Different sounds attenuated at different speeds. Check out, we've got ourselves these are laser gatlings. Yeah. And you can actually see all the laser gatlings now. There's actually 80 of them in an individual squad. We were only showing up to 20 before, so that's one thing that's fixed. And then we've got like the Lightning Corvettes here. There's 5 in there, but it's visually showing 6. So number of fixes and whatnot in here. And Yeah, so it makes a big difference. There are, visual niceties that I need to fix up in terms of I've got a list of um, types of these various individual shot types and sound effects that I need to get set up for them. And the voice acting stuff I need to get set up too, where it'll do voice commands sometimes, but it won't do it so frequently it's annoying. So that'll be a fun thing that really adds some personality to it. Actually, the volume turned kind of not the highest at the moment, and I have the music turned off just to isolate the sound effects themselves. But thought it was a nice, again, change of pace in, or rather, it just really is like a whole new game in some respects. Just I don't know. For me, just it feels more like a game with sound effects. It's amazing the difference, and we've got a very robust bus system. I got to show you this. I'm sorry. I was going to make this super short, but I'm going to show you this. Um, we've got, excuse me, we've got the, this is the modding project, and so you can mod all of the um, shots and so forth now. That's one of the things that's new in this as well. You can also set up grids, incidentally, which if you just go into Arc and Squads, um, we've got them here, and then I just copy the various cubes of different sizes that correspond to sizes of different types of ships. And then you arrange them in a cube or in a formation, and the formation can be of whatever size. And you can see these are the orientation of these boxes are what is actually used in the game. It's just making copies of them and moving around and then dragging them here and then wiring them up through XML. And so what we're going to do is actually set up, these are boring, just cubes and checkers and one just kind of messy formation. We're going to make them so we've got some cool battle formations Synth was talking about. Anyway, what I was actually going to show you was with the audio prefabs stuff with the mixer that we have. For one thing, we've got these different um, audio source prefabs that set the amount of um, how they attenuate over distance, how they're spatial. So for instance, these particular ones in here are fully directional. The spatial blend is all the way up to 3D versus the stuff in here, these things like alerts and whatnot are completely 2D. And these things have a max distance of 8,000. So the furthest the camera can get away from anything is 1200. So that means that basically these aren't going to be attenuated at all, even if they're accidentally not played next to the camera. And the reasons for that is that these are things that aren't meant to be positional audio at all. They're like voice prompts and things like that, interface noises. So with these other bits, these are meant to be positional and they're meant to be quieter or louder, depending on how close you are to them. And it gives you a sense of, you know, um, a much more realistic sense of what's going on. Now, we then have the mixer, which you can click into this, and then inside the mixer here, you can see all the different buses, and you can see their hierarchy over here. And so there's a couple of different um, individual levels that the settings file lets you adjust. It lets you adjust the overall master sound, the music, the overall sound group, which is everything that's not music, the combat stuff, the, I think, interface stuff, and then voices, which are underneath that. And this is all measured in decibels here, and so it's a differential in decibels. So the difference from zero is whatever the sound normally is at, and then it goes up to 20 decibels raised or down to negative 80 decibels lowered. Once you go down more than 30 or so decibels, it's pretty much silent. Um, And so with these things, you can see that the various types of ones, so like deaths to other planets minor is at -16, deaths to other planets for not as minor stuff is at -8. And that way, we don't have to adjust the individual sound files, make them louder or quieter. That tends to work out poorly in general, and it lets us do a bunch of mixing. And players can mod this if they so desire as well. You can point to a different mixer, like a copy that you make. We also have ducking on here, which basically is saying that on combat in general and on music in general, these things are able to be made more quiet for the duration of something else that's happening. So specifically, when a voice prompt is like somebody's talking, that is like, yes, sir, I'll go do that. Then it ducks the music and the combat sounds a little bit so you can hear that voice a little more clearly. But these aren't really like super important voice commands, so it doesn't do like a extreme amount with it. The alerts, on the other hand, these are like, we're low on metal, your arc is taking damage, etc., like really important stuff. So it really dampens the volume of both the combat and the music. And you can see it goes down by 28 decibels on each one. That's something I haven't really tuned too well yet. It's okay, but it could be better. And then for the deaths substantial and the deaths critical, these also duck the music a little bit. Because if you've got a bunch of music and stuff going on, then really you're going to want to have the like supreme explosions really kind of cut through that for a second, so that it's not too muddy. These are all things that we couldn't do in AI War Classic. And this awesome mixing stuff is something that was added as part of Unity 5.0, and then they've improved it some since then. And then I've built some further capabilities on top of that, which you can see a lot of here in the sounds folder. I've still got the game open. Oh well. It's got some fighting going on a different planet. Might lose. At any rate, in here with the sounds, we've got things like artillery, and we've got firing and hitting, and we've got these ARC and SFX items, and then it has any number of audio clips that are inside there. And it says, what is the minimum amount of time in seconds? So a fifth of a second for most things, between which these can play, and how likely are they to play. And then for all of the clips in the entire item, it has to be 1/50th of a second between playing artillery launches at all. And so basically, if we have 100 ships that are firing the artillery sound effect all at one time, on the same frame, we don't want them all to play. It'll stack up, and I've got a certain number of voices per bus that it's allowed to have, which is something that can be configured through XML. It's really nice. That way, we don't get too many shot sound effects or too many explosion sound effects to where it's just complete nonsense. And it's really nice because with these sort of parameters in here, it makes it so that you get some nice randomization. And the individual, like artillery and whatnot, they sound a little bit different. And so it's not, unlike AI War Classic, it just played a sound effect for artillery. Boom, that's the only one. And then I had a pitch lowered one that was for enemies firing. And people couldn't even really tell that one was different than the other a lot of the times in the midst of the cacophony of battle. And so here we actually have it so that it'll vary the pitch up a little bit between those variances. And so that way you get a little bit of extra variance on top of the variance of actually having multiple files. And then you can see, like, you can click in and hear them. Now that's those at their default full volume, and of course when they're run through the mixer, then they come out at whatever it is supposed to be relative. And the player is able to further configure kind of their own personal mix if they want to have, you know, they just can't stand all the shot noises. It's just too much, maybe. Um, then they can down the volume on that in the game without having to mod it. And that's just a relative offset to the original mix that's here. And so it's really flexible at a whole bunch of different levels. And I'm really pleased with how this is coming out. You can see we've got a whole bunch of different things for all these different sorts of weapons. We're only using 2 different kinds right now, and got a bunch of interface stuff that is not actually in use yet. And these things are in use. There's a different sound effect for when force fields get hit that from when things explode. I think these are all in use already. The explosions are good to go. Buttons are good to go. Alerts aren't in use yet. So, I mean, we've got a variety of things on kind of the to-do list in terms of wiring them up with code that we've already done with the um, front end. But all of this is easily moddable if you use the Unity Editor free edition. Right now we're using 5.6.1 P2. We're going to move over to 5.6.2 F1, the official version, within the next couple of days, probably. But anyhow, yeah, so I lied as usual about making this a short video. Well, I didn't lie. I tried, but I failed, as usual. So, there's a lot of good stuff. Keith is coming in on the end of the next batch of um, ships, and that's the final batch prior to early access. Then he's going to be in bug slaying mode and so forth. And Blue keeps churning through models and is coming up with a bunch of great stuff. And Synth is working on wiring those up. And he's going to be on formation stuff. And we've got a bunch of radiuses that are wrong for squads that need to be adjusted. And Quinn has been doing some really cool stuff with getting our backups better on the website and getting Mantis upgraded to a new version, which is better in a variety of ways. So a lot of things going on. Anyhow, thanks for watching.